Okay. Well, welcome to everybody. Our businesses, those representing various employment resources, and of course, Gretchen and Vivian and the chamber team. Bruce, so we're going to want to go around at some point and identify who's on the call, or
Yeah, absolutely. We can do that.
so before we do that, let me just say again, I'm Bob Durkin, I'm president of the Scranton Chamber. We are really excited to be at this particular juncture when we have an opportunity to talk about an initiative that a number of us have been working on for several years, all geared towards providing workforce transportation to several different locations in the Mid-Valley, Mid-Valley Park, Valley Industrial Park, Jessup Small Business Center, and Valley View Business Park. It has been a challenge, but the obstacles that had been in the way previously have largely been overcome. What we're looking at, and I'm going to leave it really to Bruce and Gretchen to get into more detail on the COLTS initiative, but suffice to say, what we have is a good start. But for those representing our business members up in these parks, there are some additional steps we're going to need to take, both to promote the availability of the transportation in terms of marketing it both within your organizations and to the community, hopefully opening some doors for new hires for your companies. But the long-term sustainability of the run or runs as it may be will require collective activity by all of us to make sure that, number one, that it's a success, and number two, that there are resources available to maintain and sustain this. So that said, it's been well received. Mentioned if you hadn't seen it, it was well covered when we did a press conference last week. We thank the Scranton Times and Times Tribune for a very nice editorial, really lauding the effort. I will also say that it also has opened our eyes and our need for other opportunities for workforce transportation. So we hope that this is the beginning of what can be really a landmark activity and coordination between COLTS, the Chamber, Scranton Area Foundation, and other key players that have been working so hard to try to bring this to fruition. So it's a great, exciting time. Let's celebrate the present first, and then we'll talk about the work that's coming. All right, Bruce, you want to carry
Excellent. Thanks, Bob. So before I jump into any of the information that I have, which is sort of very broad, basic information, let's just go around the room here, get introductions out of the way. So I'll start on my screen. We'll start with Amy.
Hey everybody, Amy Leister with the Greater Scranton Chamber of Commerce.
And Bree.
Hi everybody, my name is Bree Floravito. I'm the Workforce Development Specialist for the Scranton Chamber.
Gretchen.
Hi, I'm Gretchen Wintermantle. I'm the Communications Director at COLTS Bus.
And Vivian.
Hi, my name is Vivian. I'm from the Scranton Area Foundation, and I work in community initiatives with one being NEPA Moves.
Andy.
Andy Slipko.
Looks like Jennifer Shoemaker. I don't know if Jennifer can hear us. We can always come back. How about I have M. D'Souza.
Marcel D'Souza.
Do you mind just repeating that? It came in a little bit muffled.
I'm the Regional Operations Manager.
Okay. It looks like Jennifer's unmuted, so we'll come back to Jennifer. I don't know that Jennifer can hear us. How about C. Layden? All right, we can always come back. C. McCormick. Jen Spittler.
Hi, Good morning. This is Jennifer Spiller. I work with the Pennsylvania Department of Military and Veterans Affairs. Just joining this morning. I know I work closely with a lot of our county directors, one being Dave Isley. I know we've talked a lot about the need and support for veterans transportation for work and maintaining employment. So I'm happy to hear about this new development.
Thanks, Jennifer. And Rebecca Walton?
Hi, good morning. My name is Rebecca Walton. I'm the Human Resources Manager for the Chewy location in Jessup.
Aaron?
Good morning, I'm Aaron Whitney. I'm with Slipco. I'm the Facilities Manager for Slipco. I take care of the Jessup Small Business Center and Valley View Business Park. And I manage the Tech Ridge Center, which is in the Jessup Business Park.
Thanks, Aaron. How about Romano J?
Hi, I'm Jennifer Romano. I'm the HR business partner for MTF Biologics in the Jessup and Oliphant facility. They're right on the same road there, so this would be very beneficial to our employees.
Thank you. And I have Patrick, it looks like Pasqualicchio. All right, we'll jump ahead to Jason Yasinskis. All right, we'll finish up with, we have a phone number here, 346-7115, I'm assuming someone's calling in. All right, well, we'll keep it pretty open and casual. So if anyone finds the ability to unmute themselves and want to provide an introduction, please feel free to do so at any time. Again, my name is Bruce Reddock, and I'm the Economic Development Specialist here at the Greater Scranton Chamber of Commerce. And I do want to welcome everybody to our event this morning. This is a long time coming, as Bob had mentioned. This is an initiative that we began just over 3.5 years ago in February of 2017, starting with an initial survey to many of the businesses located between, strictly at the time, Jessup Small Business Center and Valley View Business Park. The results of those surveys basically showed at the time that a bus service was warranted, but with the number of hurdles in the way, it just wasn't feasible at the time. And the numbers looked good, but maybe it didn't make sense at the time in terms of ridership. So we continued with the effort and we joined forces with COLTS, obviously the Chamber of Commerce and two of our affiliates, the Scranton Plan and Slipco, as well as what was at the time the Equitable Transit Council and ultimately became NEPA Moves, which was an initiative of the Scranton Area Community Foundation. And then more recently, partnerships with NEPA Alliance and DCD through a program called Engage. We were able to successfully get this route up and running in relatively short notice, but COLTS was able to reroute some of their current routes and free up some funding to make this all happen. So obviously, as Bob had mentioned, this is a significant initiative as it helps not only the current workforce out there find those jobs, get to those places of employment, but it's also can be used as an attraction and marketing tool for us. So the ability to tell businesses from outside the area that our business parks here in Northeast Pennsylvania, specifically in the Mid-Valley, are serviced by public transit opportunities allows them to feel a little bit more comfortable in the ability to hire and maintain a workforce, knowing that some of their employees may rely on this. For those of you in the room, it may have been a little bit of a challenge in the past with employees not being able to be hired due to the lack of public transit, but I'm happy to say that I'm hoping we can eliminate that barrier now. The one thing I do want to mention is that this route, and Gretchen will get into this a little bit more in detail, but this route is going to be a trial period for 6 months. COLTS is going to be running this route on a smaller version of their buses, which you've probably seen out in the community. And again, due to the fact that they were able to free up some funding and pretty much make this happen on the fly, we're very much grateful to them for that. That being said, we hope that we can continue partnerships with all of the businesses on this phone call this morning. And we hope that you see the benefits in this new route, which we're going to call Route 11, again, covering Mid-Valley Industrial Park, Jessup Small Business Center, and Valley View Business Park. And with those benefits, looking at the long-term sustainment of the route itself, we hope that there's creative ways that we can look at financially maintaining this route for years to come, and eventually, hopefully, putting a full-size bus on the route. I would love to get to a position where, like Chewy down in Hanover, they're running 2 full-size buses on every run, just because they're at max capacity. So with that being said, I do want to turn it over to Gretchen, and we'll jump right into the route, some details, some specifics. And if anyone has any questions, we are going to do a Q&A at the end. So write them down, hang on to them, and we'll go from there. So Gretchen, without further ado, the floor is yours.
Unmute. Thanks everyone for joining in. We're very excited to begin this route, and it has been a long time coming, as Bob and Bruce have said. The route itself will start on Monday, or not Monday, I'm sorry, on Tuesday, September 8th. And it's going to run from the Giant Market in Dixon City, down East Lackawanna Avenue. I'm going to very well. Probably not the best. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so it's going to run from the Giant Market in Dixon City down East Lackawanna Avenue, up the Casey High. Now it'll stop at Rock Creek Corporate Center. Initially, it was supposed to make a turn at Mid Valley Drive, but there's a detour, a major detour there at this point. So we rerouted it about 2 weeks ago to go on the Casey Highway. So it'll go on the Casey Highway, get off on the next exit, make a left turn, go down to Veterans Memorial Drive, where it'll stop. There's MTF, you see there on the map. The time point listed on the schedule is Dempsey Uniform and Linen Supply. And then it'll turn around down there, come back up and around, and at that point make a right, and it'll go right up to the Lackawanna County, the 911 center. There you see McLean, Valley View Drive, you go up there. It will turn right into TMG and go around it. There's obviously a stop there. We'll go up and service Cardinal and Chewy, come around, come back down, and then make a right. It'll go into Alberigi Drive, service Tech Ridge Center and some other businesses in there. And then it'll make a right onto 247, go up to the Small Business Center, where, again, it'll stop. And right there is the end of the line for the Jessup route, which that's important to note, because we know that there are people that currently ride the Jessup and walk to their places of business. So this is going to alleviate that hardship, which was, this is fantastic news, as far as helping people get to work. So from then the inbound coming from the sports complex, it'll come down 247 and then straight down. It doesn't turn into Mid Valley Drive or Alberigi Drive at that point. It just goes straight down to the 911 center, goes up there once again, makes the circle, the full circle, and then comes back down and goes on to 247, and then it'll get on the Casey Highway. You see that turquoise line, and then goes back inbound on the Casey, and then on the Casey, it'll again stop on inbound at Rock Creek Corporate Center, and the Elephant train station and the Giant Market. Now, those are just the listed stops on the schedule. Passengers can flag stop the bus at any corner that the bus driver deems to be safe. So it's not, and we will also have bus stop signs along the route. So it's not like those are the only stops. It could be someone on East Lackawanna Avenue, and they would just wave the bus driver down. The bus will pull over and pick them up. And again, we will be putting bus stop signs in. We're in the process of doing that now. One good thing with the bus stop signs is that on each of them, they will have a stop ID number, which ties into, we have an app that tells you when the next bus is coming. And that's, this is a more of a structured, this is a very structured route because it's a loop and it's very much timed. So the MyStop app though is very helpful in telling when the next bus is coming. So if you're at a bus stop sign and you have the stop ID, you can text the stop ID to the number on the sign and you'll get a message saying, you know, Route 11, you know, 10 minutes away. So that's one of the features that we are promoting. I mean, that's for not just for Route 11, for any of the routes. The route connects with 3 other routes. And also another, we have another route starting on Tuesday. It's the Commerce Loop. That'll be coming down from the Viewmont Mall area. But the major ones that it connects with are the 52, which is the Carbondale, the 54, which is the Green Ridge, and the Jessup, which is the number 12. So we see, you know, a really, really big, a lot of potential in getting people from those areas to work at the industrial parks. Those buses start at the transit center, so it doesn't mean you have to live in one of those places. You don't have to live in Carbondale or Green Ridge or Jessup. You just have to get to the transit center to get on one of those buses and connect with the this new route, which starts actually at 6:30 a.m. The first bus from the Giant Market is at 6:30 a.m. And we tried to make it. I mean, this is again our first try at this. So if we need to change times or add, you know, stops or anything, we are certainly open to that. But right now, this is kind of the schedule that we'll be following. It's seven trips a day. And it's a loop, so there technically is an outbound and inbound, but it's a loop. So I have 7 trips. The monthly fares for our bus, if you can buy a monthly pass, it's $60. A one-way trip is $1.75. There are 10 ride passes. There are day passes. But the monthly pass is definitely, it's a very good investment because you can ride, the passenger can ride the bus, you know, as many times in that month. Like there's no limit. Once it activates, say on October 1st, it's for the whole month and they could ride unlimited. They could ride 10 times a day or twice a day. And one thing that we would at some point like to promote with the businesses is potentially, you know, having them, because we do have a couple businesses elsewhere that will purchase bus passes and to help defray the cost of transportation for their employees. They pay for half of the cost of the bus pass, and then the employee pays for half. So that's an option that I just wanted to mention. That's kind of getting ahead of myself, but that's just something, you know, down the line that we can definitely talk about. Yeah, I think, I mean, that's kind of the general news about the route. And I don't know, are there any questions for me right now? Or do you want to wait till
Gretchen, I have a quick question. Is this route with these times, was this predicated on the original run through Mid-Valley Park or with the detour?
They changed it to, with the detour, they added in Dempsey, and they added in the time to get from, you know, Rock Creek Corporate Center to the Casey Highway down to Dempsey, because like Dempsey will be the first stop. So it was revised 2 weeks ago.
Hi, Gretchen. This is Rebecca from Chewy. Just understanding this will run Monday through Friday. Are there any plans for weekend availability?
That would be something that, in the future we could look at. We wanted to start it out Monday through Friday, but I know that the industrial parks, I know that businesses are open on Saturdays as well. So that would be something that we could look at and we'd be open to looking at.
Okay, thank you. I know that would help us out. We run our shifts Sunday through Wednesday and Wednesday through Saturday. We're a 24/7 facility, so that would be very helpful.
Okay. Okay.
Does anyone have any other questions for Gretchen? All right, so as a follow-up, what I'd like to do is if everybody, just to make sure that we have all appropriate contact information, if you could, in the chat feature, please drop your email. What we'll do is we will circle back with you all on the route schedule itself, as well as the route that you saw presented during Gretchen's presentation, along with any other pertinent information that we think is valuable to you as the employers, for your current employees and future employees. This way we can make sure everyone has everything that they need. So we have a couple more individuals that I want to just give the floor to quickly. So real quickly, I want to open it up to Vivian Williams, who represents NEPA Moves, just to give everyone a brief overview of who NEPA Moves is and how this partnership came about and really what their role on this all was.
Thanks, Bruce. So as Bruce had mentioned, I work with NEPA Moves, which is an initiative of the Scranton Area Foundation. And it's surrounded around equitable transportation. It started as a partnership with the Federal Reserve Bank, who has an economic mobility lab, and they had recognized transportation as a barrier to economic mobility. So we actually worked with them with a study to look at wage-sustaining jobs in our local industrial parks. They call them employment centers. And it showed that there was a need for transportation to those centers. Previous to my coming, Bruce and Bob had been part of NEPA Moves prior, called the Equitable Transportation Council. And since my joining, workforce has been probably the most prevalent concern brought to me through our nonprofit partners, through businesses, through chambers, the Wilkes-Barre Chamber included, when we work with Luzerne County as well. So Bruce and I have been working together on how to create different solutions for this problem, if you would. And my role really is to be the convener. So we when I first started, had a session around the needs of employers. So it was a roundtable discussion that really met with HR level people about what their needs were. And I think, Rebecca, you shared your schedule with us, which is great. So we kind of put that all together and then really try to broker, if you would, some information and some leveling of understanding between our mass transit partners and our businesses. So you both have needs and you both have limitations with which you can work in. And you both also have other roles and other job duties. So it's more my duty to help navigate both of you and kind of try to create some kind of partnership as this, if you would, for future use or even what currently is going on, to create some kind of workforce employment program, if you would, as Chewy has done in Hanover. So I welcome any of you to reach out to me if I can be of any assistance.
Thanks, Vivian, I appreciate that. So before I turn it over to Brianna Floravito, who's our workforce and entrepreneurial development specialist, I just want to go back to a partnership that I mentioned earlier, which was with NEPA Alliance and the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development. So through those two partnerships, we were participants in a program called Engage, which Brianna is going to briefly discuss. But through the Engage program, we were able to identify transportation to our employers as sort of one of the hurdles and challenges that we were seeing in what the Federal Reserve Bank would call our employment centers. So Through that partnership, we were able to identify some potential funding opportunities, and that partnership really helped bring this all to fruition. So again, I just want to mention those two partners, but also give sort of a segue for Brianna there. So Bree, the floor is all yours.
Thanks, Bruce. So as Bruce and Vivian mentioned, this initiative and this bus route would not have come to fruition without feedback and commentary from businesses like yourselves in these parks saying that this is a need of ours. So throughout this session, I was just taking notes to be able to listen to your feedback and have that for future reference. So that way we can think about what we can do moving forward in terms of future initiatives. And part of that comes from the Engage program, which is a statewide initiative where the state actually listens to this feedback and commentary so that way they can have it in the development of their future grant programming and funding opportunities. And part of this initiative, hopefully, is to alleviate some of the stress that comes with hiring employees. And part of this is about raising awareness in the community about the resources that are available for employers and job seekers to use to help them overcome their own employment barriers, such as transportation, so that they can access the quality jobs that we have in our area. So Skills in Scranton is having a workforce resource summit on Tuesday, September 29th at 6 p.m. It's going to be available via Zoom. You can register on our website at scrantonchamber.com. And basically, this event is going to walk you through the local workforce resources that we have to help employers and job seekers overcome their employment barriers, such as being laid off for dislocated workers, having a physical or mental disability, being a veteran, or having some sort of criminal background. So if you're interested, we would love to have you all attend. And that, again, that's going to be on Tuesday, September 29th at 6 p.m. Via Zoom, and you can register on our website at scrantonchamber.com/events.
Great, thanks, Bree. So at this point, I want to open up the floor to anybody if there's any questions, comments, if anyone has any ideas, thoughts on the new bus route. We are all ears at this point. We certainly want to make sure that any feedback that we capture is captured accordingly so that this way we can make those changes, look at any other opportunities. So anyone feel free to throw out any questions, ideas that you may have.
Bruce, let me go back to what Bree had talked about with Engage, which is a little more broad. It's a more broad element of what we're talking about here beyond just the transportation. For those who are representing various businesses, it is really helpful if you haven't participated in any of the Engage calls at this point. We would like to make sure that as many of you as possible do so, and to maintain an ongoing dialogue with you, particularly with your HR issues. And it's more than just a bureaucratic check mark. Believe me, on a regular basis, myself and other members of our chamber team are communicating directly either with policymakers in the form of elected officials or key staff people in Harrisburg and Washington. It's really helpful for us to be able to have something to fall back on. There's nothing more powerful when you're talking to an elected official than a real story. You know, statistics are one thing, but it's the testimonials in a sense, you know, that whether Brianna or Amy or Bruce may be meeting with you and taking, you know, your input on what your challenges and needs are. When we sit there and talk to these folks and say, hey, this is, you know, we're talking about a situation at Chewy or at Dempsey or at Pascalicchio's or some other place where there are real jobs, really important, you know, economic impact. It's really helpful for us to be able to reference those very specific elements. That's where political change often takes place. And I will say this, you know, specifically with respect to the transportation stuff. We're really excited to be at this point, but as I said at the beginning, this is still going to be just a pilot. So we have to make this work for you. And I think, I like to think that this forum that we've created here and that Bruce and Amy had been working on previously in terms of what we were calling a park association, sort of a loose alliance, if you will, of the various businesses in the Jessup Small Business Center and Valley View Business Park. And let's add Mid-Valley, to that mix, your proximate neighbors and linked here by transportation. The more often we get a chance to come together, when you can share with us your real challenges in this kind of a forum, again, really helpful to us. It informs the chamber and our affiliates as to the type of things that we need to be making priorities for you. And likewise, it adds depth to the arguments that we're making to those who may be involved in either financing or making policy decisions that can have an impact on the work. So just want to encourage everybody to stay connected. Please be a part of this. This is our best chance, as I see it, to impact your needs that fit, and again, dovetails beautifully into the very broad mission of NEPA Moves, as well as the work of the Chamber, and then specifically on the efforts of COLTS to serve our community.
Great, thanks, Bob. So barring no other questions or feedback.
Bruce,
Andy.
this is Andy. I have a question for Gretchen. Because the bus route involves Dixon City, Oliphant, Jessup, Archibald Borough, PennDOT, and Lackawanna County roads, do you notify them to give priority to snowplow these roads?
I will need to check with our operations team on that and our safety director. I will make a note right now.
Okay, because we have a lot of hilly roads during this bus route, and
Right.
that's something, is that standard procedure that you do or not?
Right.
And let me just also mention that the whole detour issue, best laid plans, right? We've worked for 3+ years on all this, and Gretchen, and particularly, and the folks at COLTS laid out what we think, worked with Bruce to lay out this route. And lo and behold, 2 weeks before we announce it, Sturry Creek culvert ends up being compromised on Mid-Valley Road. So that's another thing we need to work on, and we will be working on with Oliphant Borough, with PennDOT, with Lackawanna County, really pressing the issue. There can't be a situation where they're just going to sit on this or wait for money to fall in their laps. This project or that issue has to be fixed as soon as possible for the sake of the efficiency of this run. So we'll be working on that.
Anybody else out there want to throw any questions in the mix, provide any feedback? If none, at this point, we would like to certainly follow up with everybody and get you the route schedules along with a map of the route immediately. So we are going to work diligently among our partners here on the call. Make sure we get those out to the participants at the very least by the end of today. This way you all have that. In the event that you need anything additional, again, I'll provide my contact information, Brianna's contact information, Gretchen and Vivian. If there's anything further that we can be of assistance of, please do not hesitate to give us a call, shoot us an email. We are here to provide you with that assistance. And that's really sort of wraps up our call today. So if there's nothing else, I would wish everybody a happy and safe holiday weekend.
Same here.
Yeah.
Have a great weekend, everybody.
Thank you.